Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Doing something a little different today. I've noticed we have a very dedicated fan in the comments section for a band called Ulcerate. Zany Zebra, this one's for you. We'll be checking out some Ulcerate today. I went into the spreadsheet and I saw that one of the songs suggested for this band is Stare into Death and Be Still. Zany Zebra specifically requested anything off of their newest album, and this does come from that, so I think everything just sort of lines up. This is what we're going to check out today. Let's see what these guys got going for us. That opening section felt like 6/8 with a 2/8 tacked on to the end, which is 4/4, but that 2/8 never feels like it fits, which was interesting, but now we've hit a rhythm that matches the time field. Dang. Those 16th notes just really digging into that groove. Yeah, got that nice gallop going on. That little cymbal ornamentation. Dig that. Real big on texture and atmosphere. This wall of sound, tons of notes, tons of attacks, lots of drum hits. Dude, those drum kicks are ridiculous. It's crazy how often I feel 3 pulses throughout this, yet I'm pretty sure it's consistently 4/4. Yeah. The drums are hectic, but I'm really digging what's going on in the guitar and bass right here. It's this light. I'll come back to that. There's a bit of tension in it, but it has this like chill groove to it. Here again, if you listen to the cymbals, we're in 4. But that melody line is not telling me that, it's not giving me a 4 pulse. It has some crazy polymetrics going on. Yeah, and a bit of contrast here, really reining it in, bringing it down a bit, pulling back from that high intensity stuff. To the groove too. Much needed moment of relax. Well, as relaxing as the song's gonna get, I assume. Even better. Yeah, that bell writing is real nice. It's interesting, I don't know if it's because of the bell attacks. I can't tell if these are held notes in the guitar or tremolo picking. The drums are very powering in this mix. Yeah. I'm digging this. It's heavy, it's groovy, it's atmospheric. And a lot of the embellishments, the little ornamentations, I'm living for that. Those little symbol embellishments are insane. Almost felt like a little bit of a fermata there. Yeah, that's that second to last note, the last short one before we landed on the held out one, was just a little bit longer than the ones before it. I don't know if that was intentionally adding a fermata to the song, or if maybe that was just a little bit of human error and they kept it because it sounded good. I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so lots of really cool things going on there. Lots of stuff I'm not a fan of. However, I think it's interesting. These guys kind of played both sides of the coin. The atmosphere was the same throughout most of the song, but we saw a wall of sound variant of the same atmosphere, and then we saw held out notes, less attacks, really going for the weight and heaviness of it rather than the offensive brutality of the same thing. And it really made me realize how much I might enjoy some of this music if it weren't for the harshness of the delivery. When we went to the end, I really dug that groove, the laid back drumming, the atmosphere that was creating. It was this heavy, dripping, uh, tense atmosphere, and I kind of dig that. The growling, I would even say, helped it. Um, but when we saw that same idea, even the same melody line played, 30 bars earlier, not that long, maybe a minute or two earlier, uh, and they were doing it with what I think was tremolo notes, and the bass kicks were going crazy, and we had these wild, drum fills, and we were really getting this wall of sound with just these constant attacks. That was draining to me. It was exhausting. It was the opposite of what I got at the end. The end was enjoying. The end was enjoyment. I enjoyed it, is what I'm trying to say. Um, and all they did was change how they played the notes. So yeah, that really interests me, and I wonder. Like I said, I'm slowly getting used to growls, right? The growls, I barely even noticed they were here. They don't stand out to me like they used to. I wonder if I can get that same way with those harsh, rapid fire attacks in the drums and guitars that really create the that those brutal styles of playing rather than just the heavy weight of holding out these notes and textures. Because I'm digging the music and stuff that's created. I'm just not digging how often these notes are being hit. And like I said, I wonder if maybe I can get used to that same way I've done with growls, because I do enjoy the music underneath it. It's the delivery that gets to me. Um, so with that said, let's talk about some of this stuff. Um, the song, I had a really difficult time differentiating between sections, other than was it uh, a wall of sound, frequent attacks, or was it a chill, groovy section? Like, that's the only real difference that I could really hear between them. I'm sure there were several sections in here. What I'm trained to hear were not the things that were differentiating between them, which that's definitely something that can happen a lot with these, especially harsher bands that go for these harsher ideas. Is that what I'm used to hearing and differentiating between sections is not necessarily something that happens often in these bands. They're going for maybe not minutia in changes, but changing things that I'm just not used to listening for. Um, But first off, the band comes in. It's heavy. We got these crazy drum parts. The guitars are kind of all over the place. The growler comes in. It is just this constant right from the start. My audio visualizer was maxed out, and it stayed that way for most of the song. I think it wasn't even till the 6 minute ish mark when we hit that sort of restrained section, the ultra restrained. Not the first time I said, "Oh, this is the moment we need to breathe." The part where it came real down. I don't remember what was playing at that point. I think it was just a guitar and drums. Um, but yeah, that was the first point that the volume really came down. I think they cut it in half. But other than that 30 seconds, I mean, that was short lived. We were at full volume the entire song, even in the sparser sections, full volume. The song is just relentless. And they start, like I said, beat one. The song comes in at full power. It is just wild. Um, I don't know if it's because of the way it was mixed. The drums stole the show for me. Uh, they were just ridiculously insane. They're mixed very high, actually, much higher than anything else. It is very clear as day. Hearing them is very clear as day. They're just very prominent in the mix, very difficult to avoid listening to. But consistency, precision, and thoughtfulness. I don't know. creativity, experimentation, I guess would be another way to word that. Um, a lot of this is those, really quick snare, really quick bass kicks, um, just wall of sound, constant attack kind of stuff. Those 30-second note bass kicks, just constant for bars at a time. I mean, just the raw power and precision to play this song is phenomenal on its own. Like, just, I don't even know. But then we have the little ideas and ornamentations that pop up as well. We have, instead of hitting the cymbal, he goes up on the bell and he does like this jazz really fast, throwing some eighth and 16th notes onto those bell hits, just randomly. Like he'll be doing some quarters and then throw like some really fast stuff in it for no reason other than the fact it sounds cool and it changes it up a little bit. And I've always told you guys, embellishment is where it's at. You don't want to stay doing the same thing for too long unless that is your goal to create repetition or whatever. I am a huge fan of embellishment though, adding little nuances to repetitions. If you're going to repeat a section, just throw a little thing in there on the second time. Throw something different in on the third time. Just change it up a tiny little bit. Maybe add a new line. That's where, the prog bands doing their layered build-ups. That is a type of variation. You're playing the same thing on the bottom for 32 bars at a time, but every 4 bars you add a new instrument. Changes the way it sounds. Um, yeah, the drummer though just has these little nuances all over the place, and it is just gorgeous to basically see the way that he thinks about his drum playing. And he'll start with a pretty simple, maybe not simple, a pretty standard drum pattern for this style of music. And then the next time it comes around, he's got like, a random drum fill across 2 and 3, or, hi-hat things, or cymbal bells, or just throwing in a random cymbal hit where there wasn't one last time. It's the tiny things that really sell his expertise as a drum writer. The fact that he can play it sells his expertise as a drum player, though. Let's see. After that, the guitars and the vocalist and the bass. I don't really know how to feel about all this. I think they did a fantastic job at creating an atmosphere, but they were not as jaw-droppingly attention-grabbing as the drums were, and maybe that's why they're pushed down in the mix a little bit. I don't know why that mix still confuses me. I'm glad. I think that the drummer needs, or at least deserves, the recognition for, I don't want this to sound bad, being the most exciting part of the band, the most interesting part, as far as flashiness goes. But everything else sort of serves the drums. How do we create an atmosphere that the drums could excel at? How do we set up a situation where the drum can do this crazy fill? And it's a really interesting way, at least that I'm perceiving the song having been written, as a platform for, I mean, okay, so when people build songs, they tend to have a foundational work, whether it's just your chord, or maybe it's your atmosphere, or maybe it's just a drum part, who knows, but you have your core song, the core foundational part, which tends to be repeated, and then you put your melody on top of that, what you want to be spotlighted. Traditionally, that's going to be a lead instrument carrying a lead line, or more popularly in modern music, your vocalist. The vocalist here kind of acts as another instrument, a heavily distorted, gritty, crackly instrument, but it does pretty much the same thing that the guitar and bass do, and that's build atmosphere. And all of this foundational work is done to showcase the lead instrument, which is the drums, which is just such an unusual hierarchy of mix, as I've already mentioned, but also composition. Um, it is just very unique to me that it feels like everything in the band serves to provide a platform for the drummer to excel. I don't think we've heard anything like that in the past. And I think it's very cool. I mean, drum kits, there is a lot of instruments in a kit. I mean, they can also be very sparse. You can get by with a bass kick, a snare, and a hi-hat. I've seen many drummers still perform spectacular things with three instruments. But I kind of assume, at least what I've heard here, there's a lot of different sounds. There's probably several cymbals, a few toms, snare, maybe a double bass. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to work with, and the drummer knows how to use all of it, knows when to put it in, has a unique style about adding, you know, these little ideas on all these different instruments and utilizing these timbres to ensure that his drum part feels unique. And it's interesting, again, that the drums have all the embellishment, all the changes. They're the ones who introduce the change. Normally, when we would have a repeating chorus line, the vocalist might harmonize with themselves, or the guitarist will harmonize with them the second time through or something, and we're used to hearing that sort of embellishment, that sort of variation. But that same idea is being utilized here. The drummer tends to lay something down, and then on the next repetition they embellish it, they put some variation in it. And it's just, the drums are the lead instrument in this band, and I just think that's fascinating. That, well, maybe not in the band. I don't have a wide enough knowledge of the band yet, but the drums are the lead instrument in this song, and I just think that's really awesome. It's interesting. I'm having a difficult time talking about it because drums, as I've mentioned, are not something that I would consider myself well versed in. When we did drum cam week, I was very apprehensive about it, and I did a lot of learning. I made up a lot of terms talking about things, and I was corrected on the proper term for the stuff in the comment section. I really appreciate that. So it's interesting because this is just not my realm. I'm usually good about talking about rhythmic, or sorry, that's the drum realm, harmonic and melodic aspects, usually slightly touching into rhythms, usually how rhythms work with time. Usually I introduce that when I'm talking about time signatures. But here, I mean, I'm a bit out of my depth here because the whole song seems to ride on the drums as a lead, and a lot of that's rhythmic work. Speaking of time signatures, though, before I finish this one up, that opening riff was wild. The guitar part, actually, I think the guitar and the drums, they had a 6/8 rhythm. They were basically doing two dotted quarter notes if we were doing 4/4. So you get the downbeat on one, you get the offbeat on two. Those are your two emphasized beats, and then four was just kind of empty. So those two dotted quarters tend to give me more of a three feel because we're using 1.5 beats in 4/4, and if we subdivide that into half beats, that's 3 half beats each. We got a 3 half beat and then a 3 half beat and then nothing. So our musical aspect, ignoring the silence, is 6. And actually, it subdivides into 6/8 very well with the way they were playing. And I kept getting this feeling of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, silence, silence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, silence, silence. And it just never fit. And of course, it's 8 beats long if we're counting eighth notes, which is what we do in 6/8. And eighth notes is a 4/4 bar. So the opening, the whole song is in 4/4, but that opening is just, there's this weird dissonance because it feels like it wants to be 6/8 that's just forced, crammed into a 4/4 bar. And then there's this beat of silence where it just feels like nothing's going, it's just, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if I'm conveying it. I don't know if anybody else felt that. It was just a weird intro. And I dig it. I dig weird intros. I dig things that push against my notions of what music should be like. If I'm expecting something to happen and it doesn't, it causes me to think about my relationship to whatever that sound is, or that style, or that rhythm, and hearing it in a new context and forcing myself to understand it within a new context. So I really enjoy when my preconceived notions are challenged, even if it makes me feel very awkward listening to it. And that intro did just that. Very interesting choice to do. All right, so those are my thoughts on Ulcerate, Stare into Death and Be Still. Not 100% sure it is my cup of tea yet, but I enjoy some of what's going on, and I enjoy all the atmospheric work that's going on. It's just those really quick attacks that I'm still not 100% sold on. But much like growls, I may get used to that over time. This is where you guys come in and hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, if you've heard of them before. Maybe some more Ulcerate I should check out, especially if they kind of lean into more of that doomy feel at the end rather than the aggressive death metal. Is that what the beginning was? More of a death metal thing? Yeah, I'd be down for that. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. And there's a link in there for Linktree. Super nifty place. You don't have to worry about all these lengthy URLs, cluttering up a description box. There's nice buttons to click if you want to go check out anything related to the channel, like Twitter, Discord, Patreon, spreadsheets, special requests. It's all in there. There's a bunch of stuff. Above that, you can like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three things help out the channel immensely. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, with our penultimate song for this week. I've actually had a pretty good time picking stuff, but I had no idea what to select for tomorrow, and I put up a quick thing, quick community post, asking what I should react to, and I got like 10 or 15 responses to it, and then I closed it because 15 was more than enough to pick from. I figured by the end of it, it could have been hundreds, and then I would have felt real bad having to turn down 99. But I picked one of them that sounded interesting from the song, the band name, and we're gonna go with that. And then on Friday, we're gonna start something I call ABCs of my spreadsheet. I was going to call it ABCs of metal, but I guess there's no... Well, I do have the genre. I could make it the ABCs of metal. I'm just doing ABCs of the spreadsheet. We're going to be doing A tomorrow, and every week that we do Bryan's Choice, Friday, we will be going through the next letter and hitting one band from every letter of the alphabet, English alphabet. Yeah, anyways. And going through the spreadsheet and trying to pick up some stuff that maybe won't get a chance to show up in themes or stuff like that. Really going for some more obscure bands that I don't hear all the time, giving them a chance to be on the channel. All right, and then we'll have spreadsheets. We'll have special selections across the weekend. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the